There's just something about an underdog. Someone who defies all odds and carves their own path, even when everyone else tells them it's impossible. Well, today, I'd like to introduce you to someone who fits that description perfectly. Meet the young bull himself, Collin Sexton, the 6'2" point guard that's going to be attending the University of Alabama next season. If you haven't heard his story yet, you're missing something that's straight out of Hollywood. That's because the summer before Collin's senior year, he was unranked and had 0 offers from major Division I programs. But all that changed when his team showed up to the EYBL for a summer AAU event. Collin exploded onto the scene, averaging over 30 points per game and winning the EYBL scoring title. This resulted in college offers pouring in from all over the country, and even rose Collin up from unranked all the way to number 6 in the entire nation. So now that we have some background out of the way, we can fast forward to current day, where Collin Sexton is currently getting ready to start his freshman season at the University of Alabama. Because while Collin was unranked at one time, he's now projected to be a top 10 pick in next year's NBA draft. Which means it's time to look at what makes Collin so special, and why I believe he's going to shock a lot of people this season and raise his name even higher on NBA teams' draft boards. The first and most important thing you notice with Collin is his killer mentality. He has something straight out of the Allen Iverson, Russell Westbrook, Kobe Bryant mold when it comes to his mindset and approaching the game of basketball. He has that confidence that all great players possess, and he's not afraid to go out and attack any opponent. And that's something you have to love in a young prospect. And this really shouldn't surprise anybody, because coming from where he's had to come from being unranked to now being at the top of his class, projected to be a big pick like I just talked about, that takes a certain amount of work ethic and a chip on your shoulder to push yourself to that point. And that's something that guys like Kobe and Allen Iverson and Russell Westbrook, who you'll hear me bring up a lot when talking about Collin Sexton, because they have really similar games, him and Westbrook. That's a skill you have to possess to be able to overcome those odds, and that's something that Collin Sexton definitely has. As far as on the court, he's quick, he's explosive, he's really great in transition, he's able to change speeds at any given time, and he's just deadly with the ball in his hands. He has good handles. They're not elite handles, but he doesn't have to have elite handles because he's so good at changing speeds, and he can beat defenders to the cup that way. He doesn't really need a ball screen because he can get by defenders with his change of pace. And that's really where he's most comfortable, is attacking the paint. He can finish with either hand. He's really good at finding open teammates out around the perimeter. He's not a great passing point guard. He's more of a score-first point guard, but he does have those skills, and he has great vision, so he can easily develop into a better all-around point guard. But right now, he's really under that scoring mentality. As far as shooting goes, he's a very streaky shooter, but he's improving. His career three-point percentage is 33%, but he can get hot in a hurry. I remember I was watching a three-point contest. I could not find the footage for this video for anything, but I was watching a three-point contest that he participated in. And I remember towards the last few racks, I'm pretty sure he only missed 1 or 2 on the whole last 2 racks. And by the last one, he shot it and turned around and looked at the crowd because he knew it was going in. That takes some major confidence, and that's something that will pay off big time for him at the college level, and then of course again at the NBA level. Now on the defensive end, he's not afraid to D somebody up. He has active hands, good side-to-side quickness. He really uses athleticism more than anything to stay in front. But that's not necessarily a strength of his, it's just not a weakness either. Now speaking of weaknesses, the biggest knocks on him that I've seen and that I've read from other people who have scouted him is, for one, he has a problem of getting out of control, especially when he's attacking the paint. Sometimes he gets ahead of himself. He gets into some trouble once he gets into the paint and throw up a wild shot, things like that. One thing that definitely gets him in trouble sometimes is the emotion that he puts into the game. One of the things I talked about was his strength, is also something that's hindered him from time to time. Is something that caused him to lose his cool in heated moments in games, and has got him in trouble with some refs before, got him in trouble with getting into arguments with other players. And really, I don't find that as a weakness as much as I think it's just something he needs to get kind of more under control, because that's what makes him great. His attitude is what makes him a great player. That killer mentality is what's going to make him a star in the NBA. But there's just certain points in games where you have to keep your cool and not get too high or too low and just go out and play. And as he matures as a player, that's something that will definitely come to him, so I don't think it's anything to really worry about. Now, as I mentioned earlier, he is a streaky shooter. Just as well as he can get hot, he can go really cold. He has some different things he tends to change with his mechanics, putting his hand on top of the ball, things like that. And it's not as consistent as you would like your point guard to be when it comes to shooting, but the guy works extremely hard. That's part of that mentality we were just talking about, and I think that's something that he will work to fix. And by the time he makes it to an NBA roster, and maybe even by the end of this next year, I think he will be a very consistent shooter, maybe one of the best in the country. It's funny really, because a lot of these weaknesses and strengths that I went over are things that remind you of Russell Westbrook, who just got their winning MVP this past season in the NBA. Someone who has a killer mentality, who's very explosive, who can get up, who relies on athleticism, but also tends to get out of control, to let their emotions get the best of them in the heat of the moment. And that's all stuff that Westbrook has dealt with his whole career. Now, I'm not saying Collin's going to end up being Westbrook, but I'm saying that those are all weaknesses that you can overcome and still be a great player. Now, as far as this next season at Alabama goes, I feel like he has the opportunity to really take that program to another level. I really like the program that Avery Johnson has built there, and I think that in the SEC, which is always a little weaker in basketball, that they will create some good competition for Kentucky. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make a nice deep run in the NCAA tournament. But I don't want to take much more of your time. Really, the purpose of this video is I wanted people to see just how much potential Collin has to be one of the next great players in the game of basketball. I feel like other players in this class are getting way more credit than he is. Michael Porter Jr., Marvin Bagley III, and they're both great players and deserve all the hype they get. But I feel like by the end of this college basketball season, we'll be talking about Collin Sexton as a top 5 player and possibly the best point guard coming out of the draft this year. It's always fun to break down the games of some of these young prospects and look at the next wave of players that's coming up in the game of basketball. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said, I don't want to take any more time out of your day. Again, I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support you give me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, remember to turn on post notifications so you don't miss any new content. I'm out. God bless.